don't understand why you're 40 years old and playing the game still. So.
Well, I mean, what game do you think you're going to be playing when you're 40? When do you think you're going to stop playing games? What's the age? What's the cutoff age?
When you're out of high school and college.
You're a high school kid?
Yeah, I'm in high school. Yeah.
How old are you?
Why does it matter?
Well, I mean, you foresee yourself in the future quitting something you love, like video games? Do you not love video games? You just cruising through it?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of a waste of time when you're that old. So. Well,
how do you know? You're not old yet. I mean, I can think of probably reasons that video games would be a waste of time for a high school kid, too. Do you have a 4.0? Are you in honor classes to get more than a 4.0?
No, but...
You know what I'm saying? There's more things you could be doing to improve your life than playing video games, too, right?
Yeah, you study and not play games.
Hey, just recreation, man. Having fun. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
All right, then.
All right, we are back after a much-needed vacation that turned out to be a little bit more stressful than I expected. But I am back in Virginia, chilling with the homies. My dog Jojo, who had a little bit of an adventure while we were out there. He ran away from us, chasing after a mule deer, and it took us about 12 hours to find him, which, as you might imagine, was very stressful. But I'm not here to talk about myself. This channel is not about me, which is why my face is not on the screen, and instead it's Vivi and James, because that's what this is about. So, hello and welcome to This Week in Culture, and my name is Brian. I am here with John. Hey, John, how you doing?
Well,
John.
Awesome as always. How are you doing today, sir?
I am well. I think that we might have a little bit of lag between like when I speak and when you hear it. So I'll just try to like shut up after I say something and see. So that way when you chime in, it's not, causing a lot of cross traffic or whatever. So.
Yeah, I'm noticing a little bit of chunkiness, but it's just one more thing for the day.
Yeah, I suppose so. All right, well, we have so much to get into because of the time that I had missed. And if you haven't noticed, time moves very fast when we are, talking about things happening in the culture. It only ever accelerates. But one thing I wanted to say before we got started that I just remembered that I really, really, really wanted to bring up. So my main goal here is primarily to talk about the culture as someone who loves beauty and believes that beauty is truth. When people try to sort of, knock that down or minimize or dismiss that, I think that they are working against me. I think that they are my enemy. But I'm going to find this right now. There's a post I saw. I think I shared it on my own channel on YouTube, so you can look at it on this channel. I'm pretty sure. And it is a little, let me go to posts here. It is a post made by a YouTube channel called New Discourses. And in the post, let me see if I can find the post. How does this work? James Lindsay, the guy who runs New Discourses, his whole video series is talking about essentially woke communism or intersectionality, which is what we called it before. People called it woke. And by the way, you should know like what it actually that's what it is. You guys should know, because one of the things that these people will do is they will try to trick you or confront you or do a gotcha. They love gotchas by saying, well, how do you define woke? And if you can't define it, then they get to essentially dismiss your views. Well, we have definitions, yes. But yeah,
I know, but
what's yours?
There's another one. I think it's very simple. It's corporate altruism.
Corporate altruism? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's.
It's nice and simple and succinct and.
Yeah, it's true, but there is an issue with that, because that would mean people can frame it like you are only talking about corporations. I think that it's a mindset that anyone at any level in society, from politicians to students to teachers to media figures to pundits to corporate, boardrooms and middle management people and human resources people and so-called experts, they all share this mindset. And to me, the mindset is quite simply critical consciousness That's it. Critical consciousness. It's basically looking at all that is normal in the world and reframing it as fringe and far right and demonizing it, because the goal of wokeness is simply destruction. It's nothing else. It's not about like,
Right.
it's not even about changing society to fit their belief system. It's not. It's about tearing it all down. I have a few things that I always say when I talk about this stuff. One is when we used to call them SJWs back in 2014, 2015. There were 3 iron laws of SJWs, or wokies, or progressives, gay race communists, whatever. 1, they always lie. 2, they always double down. 3, they always project. So always, like whenever they accuse you of something, it's because that's what they're doing. Or whenever they accuse you of potentially doing something in the future, it's because they're going to do it. So you have to that's what they are about. Right. So that's one. The other thing is, the issue is never about the issue. Ever. The issue is never about the issue. So whatever it is that they're talking to you about, whatever it is that they're criticizing, whatever it is they're trying to destroy, tear down, or control, those things, they're just using those things as a means to an end. The issue is never about the issue. It's always about the revolution. They are revolutionaries. Another thing you have to know about these people is they're not crazy. So I see a lot of people who talk about these people in the Smash JT. I love Smash JT. I like his channel. I think he does good work. Not attacking the guy, but he seems to think that these people he's dealing with are just insane. They're not. They're rational. This is what they want to do. What it is that they're evil. That's the truth. It's evil. It's self-serving. Self-serving narcissism is the worship of the self that is inherently evil. And I'm not saying this in a biblical perspective, because I know some of you guys are not religious. That's not what I'm doing. I'm saying this is all about them serving themselves. They're being very rational. It's very intentional. They're not crazy. They're not being illogical. They're doing what they know will get them what they want, and that's all they care about. And I've been talking about this for 10 years. There are people who are political commentators like Vosh who have said things like that they believe, or Hassan Piker, and I'm like, yeah, these people are evil. They want you dead. That's not an exaggeration. They want you poor. They want you homeless. They want you diseased and sick, and they think it's funny because they want to control the reason why they burn everything down is because they believe that once everything is gone, Maoists, Chairman Mao, he said we had to eliminate the 4 olds, right? Because the only way you could rebuild a new society is to destroy the old society. So there is that.
It's like the burning of the Great Library in Alexandria.
Yeah,
you have to disconnect everybody from everything that they used to know.
You have to destroy it all. So that's what it is. Okay, so these are, and you have to understand that, because a lot of people, they really want to work with them. They want to try to convince them. They want to rationalize. They want to, and the thing is that you're not dealing with you are dealing with rational people, but their ideology it exists to oppose yours. So you can't work with them. Okay. So what you have to do is you have to deny them your money. You have to ridicule them often. You have to stop caring about their feelings because they don't care about yours. This doesn't mean you need a.
Oh, I did that.
You don't. This doesn't mean you have to harass them. I wouldn't even talk to them. I wouldn't engage with them. It's not really useful. But meme on them and tell other people, look, stop trying to rationalize this. Stop calling them crazy, because they're not crazy. They are evil. They are doing this on purpose. Okay, so real quick, I just wanted to share this tab. This is the post I wanted to.
I have an anecdotal story.
Yeah. Let me share this person and we'll get your story. So this is James Lindsay, New Discourses. He says,
by all means.
Yeah, he says, or he wrote this post. He says, Gamergate is the canary in the woke coal mine that represents the victory of the honest person in the comment section, winning over the dishonest journalist writing the article. And that's really why I do this. It was Gamergate from the beginning. I was seeing it before Gamergate started, but I predicted Gamergate was going to happen based on what I was seeing, like, in terms of conversations around it. And I'm not talking about the Gamergate we're in right now. I'm talking about the Gamergate from 10 years ago. Like, I was talking about this shit in 2013 when I first saw, like, Anita Sarkeesian on the scene criticizing, because that's what they do. They criticize something until they control it. Call it sexist until you control it, and then you control it. Call it racist until you control it. So, anyway, what's your anecdote? What's your story?
Yep. Well, two things, I suppose. I noticed this stuff back in art school.
Me too.
When I was trying to get into what they called narrative design, and that was in many ways the beginning of DEI in the game industry, because it's the limitation of what you're even allowed to have in your stories, and so like it completely just offloads the concept of storytelling in and of itself, and makes it this thing that's been constricted. They can only do certain things. So that's kind of like just a quick comment. But to what you're saying about like the dealing with these people in a way that just kind of ridicules them, and not engaging. Now, I would agree with that to a certain point, but if they come looking for trouble,
yeah, well, defend yourself, right?
And that's kind of what happened with me when we'll get into the Godot thing later. And so I ended up I'd made a comment on which when we get to the Godot story, we'll get into what that's really about. But in that whole Godot thing that happened, I had made a comment in the Godot thread that was going on about it, and one of my friends was in an argument. George Broussard, I believe, if I remember correctly, he's a guy who worked on Duke Nukem.
Cool.
And so this guy was trying to get under my friend's skin, and so I just basically said to him, you're obviously not here in good faith, and maybe you should just kind of like tone it down a little bit. And 7 hours later, roughly, he had evidently gone to my ex account, possibly to my YouTube, and he just sends me this link, or he, not a link, but he goes and he just attacks me outright in this thread, saying how I'm a racist, bigot, misogynist, what have you. And at that point in time, I was like, well, this is not a debate. This is somebody who's trying to attack me, and I got nothing to lose. I'm expecting to get blocked from this Godot thread at the earliest moment that it can happen. Mm-hmm. And I proceeded to, over the course, because I was waiting for a stream to happen. And so in between the two streams I was doing, I basically have like a back and forth, battle of wits with this tranny demon, which I found out you can't type tranny demon into X without it spitting out at you that your post is being limited. But everything else I said was perfectly allowed to go through. But I think perhaps the best part was when we got to the end, when he told me that I was denigrating him. And to which I could only say, you denigrated yourself when you started cutting off your body parts, because that's really what this is. And as you were saying earlier about like the whole thing about these people, like kind of, how they will conveniently lie when it's necessary, and how they're unable to kind of get past their own projection. And it truly is that whole sense, the whole sense that their projection haze is so large that they cannot reach anything they can't grasp anything beyond their reach of that haze, because it is all encompassing. Everything they see is through that haze, that filter, if you will. And so everything that there is in their mind's eye and in their perception coats everything in reality. And so that's why they constantly see these things that they have to destroy and get rid of, because they themselves are speaking from the heart of their shadow self.
Yeah.
And it's just the darkness within them that is all that they can see.
Yeah, for sure. And so, and speaking of the Godot thing, let's just jump into that right now. So we have this tweet. I'm gonna set it up, and then I'm gonna let you tell us about it, because I don't do coding or any of that. I don't know if that's even what this is about. But Grums made this post. Obviously, Mark Kern doing...
No, not really.
Well, no, but I mean, he shared this this other post. And he says, this is getting insane. Godot isn't just blocking devs on Twitter. They are blocking them on GitHub, preventing them from getting engine updates. Open source engine, more like closed to own the chuds. And then we have this person named Anthony Waldsmith, says that he was blocked on GitHub. And the Great Rebellion, I think this is this might be the Cult CEO guy, but I'm not certain. But the Great Rebellion posted, WTF, now devs get blocked on GitHub. This is getting completely out of hand. So tell me what Godot is and what's going on with this.
All right. Well, it's pronounced Godot, like waiting for Godot.
Like Gal Gadot?
But what had happened was a community manager. Yeah. So like this community manager, I believe it was Friday of last week. There was this post that they had put out about like, show us your woke games, and and put out a logo called Woko or Wokot, right? If you're and so it's obviously got a lot of people who are clientele, who are customers, and are actually people that like use the middleware because it's a game engine, saying, what does this really have to do with anything? A tool such as this should really be apolitical, because like any tool, if you give me a hammer, I can either build you a house, or I can turn it around and like just start with it. And so that's ultimately what kind of transpired, was this out of control community manager who looks exactly the way you would expect, and has all the pronouns and a shaved eyebrow and half shaved head and green fluorescent hair, just went on a banning spree, and like people just simply saying, what does this have to do with anything? And that's actually how I learned of it. Is the CEO of Cult, I believe his name goes by on our Discord server, was the person who kind of put it onto our radar. And my friend Barrett Plaid, who is on the Discord as well, he's been working with Godot's game engine for about the last year or so, since Ubisoft went crazy. And he was, kind of interested in kind of seeing a little bit into the thread, and that's when he got into his little back and forth with George Broussard, and then it just kind of like descended into madness. And on Monday of this week, they just basically made it a protected account, but if you were already in the thread, they didn't take anybody else out of the thread at that point in time. But the community manager, to my understanding, is still there. On Tuesday, they doubled down. It was either Monday or Tuesday, but they basically doubled down, saying that like this is all a whole bunch of bad actors who are doing things in bad faith. And it's like, yeah, and they all work there in like what is supposed to be an open source game engine organization, and so their money comes from people that donate to them. And so there was actual like high dollar people who are very well invested, who are getting blocked and unable to like even speak their mind to an issue that they did not cause. And so like that's really what a lot of this comes down to, is you get these cry bullies who go and like do a thing, and find out happens all of a sudden. It's like, oh, I'm being attacked. It's like, no, you started an attack. Now you have to learn to either stand here and defend yourself appropriately, or fuck off. And they just decided that the easier thing to do was to lock everybody out, that they didn't want to get any more, activity on the thread. But then all have been blocked. There's like this huge, like I think it's like 2 or 3 page long kind of form that you have to fill out, and it's going to take a certain amount of time to get your account reactivated. And it's like, that's not how you handle this. You fire the CM who's bringing their personal ideology into a business account, and then you unban all the people that got banned because of this activist community manager. and this is not the first time, nor will it be the last time, I'm sure. Is all these community managers, it's so hilarious how like a simple hourly rate employee who basically is like, the person at the cash register can completely ruin your business if they're not actually willing to ring people up and just do their job. And
Yeah.
instead want to like, sit there and give you like, like a long song and dance about how they view the. So I made the joke that we should actually make Godot, of course, spelt bigot, for like a fork of the actual version of Godot that's specifically focused on, more conservative, MAGA, just reality-based leaning kind of titles and things like that. But there's another fork that is actually it got put out, I believe, on Friday was the day that they said they were going to do the release on. It's called Rideau. And so it's ideas that these are people that want to actually make good on the promises what Godot was supposed to be, but don't really have, any concern about like ideological allegiances or anything like that. Because again, these are tools, like if I run a construction company, I should be able to buy the tools that I need. I shouldn't have to fashion a hammer. I shouldn't have to make a, bandsaw. I shouldn't have to do all of this, right? And if I do, then what's the purpose of this company? And that's kind of where the situation just is it's just hanging. Nothing's really kind of gone either way since. And so it's just a giant, huge mess. And Godot is having their Bud Light moment. And, it's really just kind of one of those things where it's like the ideology in the game industry is so pervasive at this point in time that, all we can really do is look to people like, the guys who made The Great Rebellion for actually good quality games that play well mechanically and have really great soundtrack, all that kind of stuff, like everything that you want from game without any of the fuckery. And the great talking about the outgrowth of woke culture doing its overtake. If it's left to its own devices, where we'll end up in the world, and 50. I mean, like the 2030 plan.
Yeah.
Is their whole big thing, but I think they're realizing that to get that taken care of in the course of the next 6 years is going to be a little too rough. So they might have to wait until the Zers and all that of this generation are a little bit older, and it's like you plant trees, propagate new things and things like that. So they have to wait for us olds to die out while still kind of applying the ideology to these younger and younger generations. But we have that because it benefits them. A lot of these ideologically minded people that are more towards appreciating what woke is are more often than not women. And then
it's a feminine
my nephew's age
it's a feminine ideology.
or,
so
20s to 30s. Yeah.
Uh-oh, I think we lost him. John, are you there? I think you have to leave and come back. You're breaking up a lot. And
Did you?
I
can come back.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah. No worries. It's been just an interesting day.
All right, John's gonna come right back.
Anyways,
I'm gonna talk about
you do what you're gonna.
The next thing, but I would say this. Maybe you guys can help me out with this. I know now it's two Vivians. Isn't that weird? So here's what I want to know. Can Godot lose money? Like, can GitHub, sort of suffer from the consequences of a free market? Is that possible? Harry Pierce says there is like 20-second delay in the dude's internet. Yeah, I don't know if it's me or him, but I've been like monitoring my my stuff to make sure I don't go over. So I don't think it's me. But maybe if it is, then you'd be experiencing some lag right now. So anyway, can there be actual consequences to Godot if people don't use it because they have like weird like community manager shit going on? Are you back? All right, let me plug you in here. Hold on a second.
But we won't have these issues.
Yeah. All right. So we're back now, and yeah, it's okay. It seems a lot better already, actually. So
Good.
I don't know.
Good.
All right. So anyway, back to this. Robert Johnson says, considering some of the people they banned were subbed at $100 a month and no longer are, yes. So okay, so GitHub does cost money. So if you don't give them your money, then they will lose money. Seems pretty straightforward and probably a good idea. So we'll go through a couple more of these woke stories of like how these people are doing damage and they're doing it on purpose. Like I said, it's not an accident. They need to be removed. That's it. Like a cancer, you have to cut them out of your companies. And the only thing that is kind of frustrating is getting the companies to see that this is not good for business. And the only way they're going to know that is if people stop giving them their money. And they have to have a pretty like almost zero tolerance, if not zero tolerance approach. They have to be like, no, I'm not doing it because your community manager is shit or whatever. So here we got,
and just like a cancer, not only do you have to
go
cut it out, but you also have to change your lifestyle afterwards. So that means no going back to the thing that caused the cancer. So you know, like and unfortunately that means for a lot of these HR departments, you have to get rid of your entire HR department and actually hire people that are going to hire people of merit rather than people of ideology.
Well, I think we have to actually re-examine what the purpose of an HR department even is, so that we don't like go down the same path. Like absolutely, you know, like because there's nothing human about human resources right now. All right, so we got here now. This from Smash JT shared this tweet, and it's about this vocalizer that essentially does subtitling for, I think she localizes the Japanese games and anime. Now this is, you know, if you're into anime, we don't talk about it much here, but I think it's important to point out that obviously these people are an infection that affects that as well. They try to they gaslight you into thinking that they're trying to alter it because of cultural differences, or they're changing the context, or they're trying to be in context or whatever. So I want to read this out and play this video, and then we're going to look at a little bit at the activist that is behind it. So Smash JT says, localization is unhappy that people are educated. Gets in the way of the message, or people are educated. Don't worry, subsequent gaslighting ensures you don't know what you're talking about because these vocalizers are professionals and you're just the idiot. And we'll play this clip.
Not only that, but when you're subtitling, everybody can hear what they're saying. And you have a lot of people, especially young people like millennials and Gen Z, who got really into Japanese through anime. So they started learning a little bit of Japanese. So they are very loud on social media when they hear something and they're like, wait, that's not what the subtitle said. These people don't know what they're doing. And it's like, no, you guys, like, you know, this is a skilled profession. We know what we're doing. We didn't change it to spite you in your Japanese 101 class. Like, this is actually what they said. You just don't understand the challenges of it.
So she's just lying. Remember when I said SJWs always lie? This is a lie. So what the problem is that they want to change what's being said. Whenever somebody says, you guys should probably have heard this, okay? Whenever somebody makes an appeal to authority, where they say, look, we are the professionals, we know what we're doing, you don't, you know they're lying. Like that's because they're not confronting the actual argument. Like people are making the case that the language does not match what the subtitle reads, and the subtitle is including sort of like westernized, you know, language, but also their ideology is creeping in. It might be in little ways. They might just say the word patriarchy once. They might just say the word beauty standards. They might just say, you know, some colonialization, whatever. They just throw it in there, and then if you catch them in it, it's like the Mott and Bailey thing, okay? So they go to the Bailey, which is what they're really trying to do.
Well,
and then when you call them on it, they retreat to the Mott and say, no, we're cultural context, guys. We know we're the experts. We're professionals.
Right. Well, there is one part. There is one part though that which she's saying is we know what we're doing and this is the way that it's done. She's referring to narrative design.
Yes.
And trying to like not actually, you don't know what this is, and it's like, yeah, but narrative design in and of itself is a corruption of storytelling.
Yes.
And it is one of the foundational bricks to the whole DEI initiative.
It absolutely. So here is the person that we're speaking of. She's blocked basically everybody, which it shouldn't be a surprise. Katrina Leonokadakis. And she is a localization producer, Japanese English specialist. So she's a pro because she said so. And the things she's into, whatever. She, her, pronouns in the bio. There you go. That's all you need to know. If you see that, then you know what's up. And she's like, I'm not sorry for what I did to Inukai 3. Now, I don't know what Inukai 3 is, but what she's saying is, I butchered your thing, and I don't care. I'm just driving it home, guys. These people are evil. They don't care about the thing that they're working. They don't care about the industry. They don't care about the company. They actually hate the fan base. They hate the people who support this stuff, and they're okay with just tearing it all down. And here's another one. This must be, I don't know, it looks like porn or something, but I don't know. I am unfortunately doing some of my finest localization work on the anime about the high school girl who is legitimately sexually attracted to a corgi. So I guess I don't know how true that is. I haven't watched the show, but these are her comments. And then somebody in the same named Aini says, I'm honestly curious, so you are transforming the translation because you don't like the material given to you? Or an officially published project? Why not take on another project instead? And then she says, number one, this may surprise you, but I love the material. Number two, the translation is not for you. Translation, you are not the intended audience. So anime fans that watch the material are not her audience when she localizes stuff.
Right.
Okay. Do you have anything you want to say about that?
Because game designers should not be making games for game designers. You're making games for an audience, and the audience is not you. Like, that has just always been one of my design principles is I want to make something, even if I want to put my shit in it, I need to make sure that whatever I'm doing ultimately is to the benefit of the end user, and they can take or leave all my stupid storytelling stuff. And, as long as it's got like good play dynamics, it's got a good hook, all the mechanics are where they need to be.
Yeah.
You can probably slide a little bit on some of that stuff, but it's so, just in your face and just pervasively done these days that, they will go out of their way to make sure that you can't even enjoy what would even be a playable experience, even if the mechanics are good. But generally speaking, these games are trash in terms of, not only what they do to the narrative in there, but, oftentimes they have people that are just kind of iPad kids that grew up that don't know how to actually do the real work. So they use the exact same game engines over and over and over again. So, I mean, the new Wolverine game is coming out soon, which we all know, or should all know. If you don't, is based off of the Spider-Man engine with Mary Jowls and all the rest of the
Mary
Jaws
Jaws
in that game.
I'm guessing that Jean Grey is gonna be fucking jawed up. So if they put her in the game, yeah. Oh, I'm looking forward to not buying it.
A picture of it.
Yeah, I heard.
Right.
But yeah. So anyway, let it all. Like they want to tear it down, then we'll only support the people who don't. And that's kind of where I'm at. So, all right, let's move on to the next thing because there is a lot here. I want to get into. Yeah, let's look at this prick. All right, so here we have a Tolkien professor, putting it in quotes, Corey Olson, who makes the claim that, quote, there is no such thing really as canon in Tolkien, while defending the, I guess, horrible show that I will never watch and I don't even acknowledge the existence of, Rings of Power. So I'll read a little bit of this article from That Park Place.
I call it
Shout out
Rings
to-
of Prime myself.
Yeah, Rings of Prime, yeah. Toilet Rings of Power. Thank you for subscribing, Keith Batiste. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. So, Carrie Olson, who's dubbed himself the Tolkien Professor, recently made an absurd claim that there's no such thing really as canon in Tolkien while defending the Rings of Power. In a clip uploaded to the Lord of the Rings on Prime's official account on X, Olson states, quote, first thing to specify is that there's no such thing really as canon in Tolkien. Tolkien's ideas were ever evolving. Ironically, he then cites the text of the Lord of the Rings.
It's like saying...
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say that's kind of like saying that you could say the same thing about the Bible and it would be just as absolutely
they've done that
in terms of it's like you've got to be joking.
Oh no, they've done that. This is the thing that people have to understand, like the desire to change canon in our fiction, in things that in like our entertainment and stuff, like things that most people would probably think are not that important.
Anything that's
but they wouldn't think that it's like crucial. Like they normies would say, and some people who are like culture junkie types will say, well, it's like an Elseworlds, or they just made this little change to the canon, and it's annoying, but I don't care, right? Like this is what your average person who isn't really like a passionate fan of something would probably say. They would just excuse it in some way. But what they don't seem to get is the purpose of changing the canon.
Culture.
But what they don't seem to get is the purpose of changing the canon in our fiction is to change the canon of our reality. So like we already don't get the truth from our history classes. It's all bullshit. We don't get like the full story on shit that's happened in our past. History is treated like a series of important events with nothing in between. So that's already wrong. They have tried to reinterpret things like the Bible and claim that it is something that, just depends on how you look at it, which is also untrue. So even if you're not a big fan of the Bible, whatever, that's your business. They are trying to change it. So this isn't like, the Harry Potter books or something. Like this is the Bible, right? And they've also claimed, the same people have claimed that the Constitution itself is a living document that can be changed. If we accept the terms of those things, then we accept all of them. So like that, they're obviously going to do that with Tolkien. They were waiting for his son Christopher to die. Like they were waiting for it. And the moment it happened, they pounced on it because the other members of the Tolkien family, they didn't care enough about the material. They didn't feel the need to protect it. And so they just sort of let this happen. So yes, Norwegian says, I guess that's why Tolkien was fiercely protective of his work canon. Yeah, because he knew that's what they were going to do, and they are trying to do it. And what we, as fans, have to do, if we don't like this, is completely reject this whole thing. And ultimately, I think you're going to have to end up fighting people who want to change the canon and things that you might otherwise not care about, just because you don't want them to get a foothold anywhere, because that is the purpose. So like, no, the Constitution is not a living document. No, people today are not smarter than the founding fathers. No, the Bible is not something you can just reinterpret to match whatever you want, to excuse yourself for whatever. It was, it's tremendously old, and it's served, the wisdom in it is serviceable for most. And many of you guys are following the Bible's teachings, even if you're not religious, if you live in a Western country, because the Western country was built on those teachings. So you can't let these people alter it, because that's...
To your point, Cenk Uygur from TYT was victim shaming the people that are being kind of put out by the hurricane that happened, and he tried to use some passage in the Bible about how if the seed is not, the whole thing about how, like, he was trying to say that abortion is endorsed by the Bible, and because this state is a red state that's kind of like, wants to have states' rights and the ability to, determine that stuff, that this was God punishing them.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying.
Interesting.
Like, this is like, it's all about
say
like,
the
oh, you believe in this thing, I'm gonna come in there, I'm gonna subvert the thing, and then I'm gonna change the rules of the thing, and then I'm gonna hold you to the standard I just made up, and then call you a hypocrite if you don't follow it. It's gaslighting, it's lies, and that's just the truth of it, you know? Like, nah, I'm not gonna accept it. Tolkien created his world, it's his. Let it be what it is, but they can't. They can't do that. So let's look at this video here. I want to share this tab and close this. This is Professor. It might be, if it's too long, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but this is short. It's like 2 minutes.
First thing to specify is that there's no such thing really as canon in Tolkien. Tolkien's ideas were ever evolving.
We're going to go into
Thank you kindly, Grando.
Oh, God.
In the text of The Lord of the Rings, we are told that Gandalf, with the other wizards, arrived at around year 1000 of the Third Age. And in his later years, he was playing with the idea of maybe Gandalf coming sooner, maybe some of the wizards coming in the Second Age and taking part in the wars of the Rings of Power.
When it comes to Gandalf, that's the most common name that people know him by. But what are some of the other names? Like a personal favorite of mine is Olorn.
He's known as Mithrandir among the elves and in Gondor. He's known as Gandalf in the north. He's known as Tharkun to the dwarves.
That's a good one.
That is a good one. And he's known as Incanus in the south. When he lived in Valinor among the gods, his name was Oloran. So it suggests he's been around lots of places, has impacted many different communities and many different peoples, and they've known him under many different names. That same passage where he talks about his different names, he says, "To the east I go not." When we look at that quote in context, he's talking to a dude from Gondor, and the people of Gondor, they call Mordor the east. He meant, don't expect me to go throw down with, the Dark Lord at the gates of Barad-dûr.
So when it comes to Gandalf, what is his general purpose in Middle-earth?
Gandalf is described as coming to bring encouragement to the people of Middle-earth. He just goes around the world.
Spreading hope.
Yeah, spreading hope and helping where he can.
Wow, the cope. The cope is off the charts. Like, so how well is the show doing? I don't know if there's a way to look it up. I don't think it is. I don't think people are enjoying this very much.
It is completely terrible. It is fallen off entirely from. I mean, it got what, only 30% of the people who started season 1 began it, and I myself, I won't even. I will not watch this second season at all, even to kind of throw shade at it. And that's a lot of people right now. In my circles that I frequent on YouTube and whatnot, a lot of people are just, they're done. It's not even worth the ridicule. It's not worth putting up with it for any length of time. I mean, this is just completely debased itself and made itself completely irrelevant.
Yep. Yeah, so they're coming for, and you guys knew this when they announced that they were going to make this. I mean, they also did it with the anime. What is it called again? It's like the anime about
the Horror of the Rohirrim.
Yeah, the Horror of the Rohirrim.
Roar of the
Horror whatever. So that's just, again, this is the thing, like this is how they operate. Okay, they either try to gaslight you into thinking that, oh well, there's so much like open that we have to explore and we can like do new things with it. No, I don't care if it's like somebody who like knew Tolkien personally. I don't want anyone touching this material. Like, this is like, why they come after this so much? Right. Because it's conservative. That's the truth of it. Like, the Lord of the Rings is conservative, and they can't stand the fact that it's so popular. They can't stand it, and they have to come after it. I'm sorry. Like, that's the truth of it. There isn't a lot of conservative work out there that's popular, and most of what little there is out there that's popular is popular on its own merits, or it's popular accidentally. And so, like, this and the Chronicles of Narnia are like the two big ones, and they're gonna butcher the Chronicles of Narnia. They got what's her name to direct. I don't know if it's a show or a series of films, but they're gonna get Greta Gerwig, feminist director of the Barbie movie, to make the Chronicles of Narnia. And how could she possibly do that? Like, Tolkien's work has some
Chronicles of Barbie.
Yeah, it's gonna be the oh god, Nonia. But Tolkien's work is sort of like, you know, he was very careful to not be too on the nose. But when you just look at the themes, without trying to make any direct comparisons to, you know, like the Bible or whatever, or like the like, that's not necessary. Like he wanted to create a fairy tale for his children, and he created a whole world. He thought that there should be a mythology for essentially, you know, Britain and you know, parts of Europe or whatever, like a Western civilization mythology, and that's what Middle Earth is. It's like in the name, you know, like it's sort of in the name.
Right.
But for the most part,
yeah, the word Lord there is show.
So, and you know, he was often confronted by journalists even when he was alive, and they were like, what are you saying? What are you saying with this? Is this a reference to this conservative thing or that conservative thing? And he'd be like, no, I'm not trying to do that. And if the truth is, he probably wasn't, but like, your own values come out in your work. Like, if you create something, your values come out in it. Okay. But C.S. Lewis,
just like these wokies,
but C.S. Lewis, the guy who wrote Chronicles of Narnia, he was a convert. So he started off an atheist, and a very staunch one at that. And then like he knew Tolkien. They went to like, you know, the same school, and you know, he wanted to write. And then over time he converted, and so he wrote the Chronicles of Narnia. And if you've read those books, they're way more on the nose, like way more on the nose when it comes to the biblical parallels than Tolkien is. And so when you're someone like a woke feminist like Greta Gerwig, and you get your hands on the Chronicles of Narnia, it's even more appealing to tear this down, because now you have like, you're like a midwit, right? So you don't really know what Tolkien is going for. You just know you don't like it, and you can't put your finger on why. But with Chronicles of Narnia, she knows what she can attack. She's like, oh, I'm going to come after. So yeah, be prepared. It's going to be subversive, because these people love that, which means it's going to be destructive. So
right. Well, these are people that think that they can brute force a lie into the truth, and if they just repeat it enough, somehow that makes it so. And it's just like, no, you're just habitually lying, and you know, like you're wanting the whole world to be deceived. You know, if you have any kind of connection to anything in the Lord of the Rings, you're an agent of the darkness, and you know, these wokies are, you know, they're uruks, they're orcs, you know, like they're just full of their demonic forces, and they're unleashed and unhinged, and they only know how to do the one thing, which is to destroy. And so like season 2 of Rangs of Prime, the big thrust of it is that the orcs are the downtrodden. Orc lives matter.
Oh yeah,
is basically what they're trying to get at.
Well, again, this is the thing that's at the base of their theory, okay? So I've made this video before. I talked about how queer theory has nothing to do with being gay or trans at all. Queerness is not a sexual orientation, okay? Queerness is considered an identity without an essence. Queerness is just being different. Like celebrating difference, right? Yeah. Celebrating the fringe and trying to bring it towards the center, turning everything upside down. So these people are, yes, they see the orcs and they immediately relate to them. Just like when Helldivers came out and they saw the bugs and the bots and they related to them. When Starship Troopers was out and they related to the bugs in that. Like whatever it is that's on the fringe that's considered a sort of faceless evil, because that's what a lot of these things are. They're just kind of like hordes of, you know, faceless evil. They relate to that, and they defend that, and they nurture that, and they protect that, because that is what they want to bring towards the center and normalize, and they want to exclude normal people. So they push the inside, the normal out, and then they bring the fringe in and make the fringe the center. And that's, you know, obviously that will destroy the thing that they're claiming to care about. So Norwegian says, I want to read some of this. So Tolkien's works are interpreted as an allegory to many things because he based them on truth and the human condition. Yes, that's right. That's how it works. Take Saruman, for example. Too many elites fit his description. Well, Saruman is the definition of an elitist. That's why he fell to darkness, right? So because he thought he was smarter than everybody and that he knew what was best for people.
He was externally motivated rather
Yes.
than like having good intentions in his heart to lead him. He was just focused on like being, opulent and kind of, worshipped and, the best. I am most high,
Yes, yes. All right, well, thank you for the comments. And again, guys, thanks for joining us on the stream. Please hit like, help us reach more people. It'd be really great if you did. And if you want to send us a message, you can do super chats and rumble rants if you like. And I will be sure to prioritize that content. Okay, so let's move on to the next thing. Dragon Age. So there's a few things I want to say about this. So I missed the whole Zipper Tits fiasco. But I think that it ties in anyways. Like, so Dragon Age, the Veilguard game director, who describes himself as a queer-osexual gendermancer, claims game is inherently queer. Remember when I talked about queerness? Yeah. It's not
I would say
gay.
queermo.
Yeah.
Instead of queero. I started calling people queer. I called them queermosexuals when I was living out west. And so it's kind of funny that something that I said, as a joking kind of pejorative is actually what they take pride in just by, having the M removed. But they're all about removing things, right? Yeah.
So BioWare announced it is renaming the upcoming Dragon Age game from Dragon Age Dreadwolf to Dragon Age Veilguard. I mean, we knew this already. At the same time, it's been brought to public attention that the game's director is a man pretending to be a woman who supports Black Lives Matter. He also believes the game is, quote, inherently queer, and, quote, well, if you're the director, it's not a belief, it is an intention, and you're going to make it that way. In a blog post titled, in a blog post, BioWare explained that the change in title is because they did not want to put the focus on the enemy, but rather the player and his companions. Again, they're going to try and bring the outside towards the inside. The blog post detailed, naturally, the Dreadwolf still has an important...
For a second.
Oh, yeah, sure, no problem. Naturally, the Dreadwolf still has an important part of this in this tale, but you and your companions, not your enemies, are the heart of this new experience. So to capture what this game is all about, we changed the name as the original title didn't show just how strongly we feel about our new heroes, their stories, and how you'll need to bring them together to save all of Thedas. We proudly introduce you to Dragon Age the Veilguard. Oh, so here's some things that I already caught that are kind of interesting about this, okay? So, have you guys noticed in a lot of properties that has become more and more under the thrall of the woke, that they have moved away from conflict? They've moved away from the battles between good and evil and right and wrong, and they've moved more towards a kind of, social, community-oriented, bohemian cafe type of vibe. Let's look at D&D, for example. So, Dungeons & Dragons, I played it a lot. It was all about, the adventure. You form up your party, you find a quest, it involves defeating evil, you go to the place and you defeat the evil. You endure battles and traps and other pitfalls and dangers and thrills, and then you come out the other end successful with some loot and experience, and you're celebrated by the people when you return to the village or whatever, the king or whatever it is, right? That's kind of what we would call it, the gameplay loop of Dungeons and Dragons. Now, of course, because anybody can do whatever they want in their game, you can always add more relationship dynamics, etc. But generally, D&D was made because it came from a kind of miniatures war game. It is about conflict resolution through combat against the forces of evil. And what I've noticed is that D&D has changed over time, right? So it's become more like they're making it more into a kind of like, I don't know, like cafe atmosphere over time. And I think that this is also bleeding into our games. Like if you look at how many Globo Homo AAA video games are out here that are all trying to be Stardew Valley and whatever, my wife likes Stardew Valley, so I'm not shitting on that genre. I don't care that genre exists, but it's becoming the only genre. It's like the primary one. It's like, no, we want to kill things. This is why, and we're going to get into it later, but this is why Warhammer Space Marine 2 is doing so well, because it's very straightforward, it's unapologetic in what it is, and that's what it should be, okay? And so what I'm getting from this commentary about this new Dragon Age game is that they said we changed the title because we don't want to center on the enemy, we want to center on the heroes coming together, their stories, and how you need to bring them together to save all of the Thedas. So this sounds like it's going to be like more focused on the social interactions and the relationships than the actual like combat. Maybe the story will be dramatic. Maybe the bad guys will turn out not to be bad guys. They're just sort of misunderstood, outsiders that like, because this guy's a Black Lives Matter he's a supporter of Black Lives Matter, right? Which is a straight up communist organization. Don't at me. That's all it ever was. It was always a grift, and they made like, $8 million or something dollars. They made a shit ton of money off of the suffering of normal people who just wanted to live in Minneapolis, which I now call St. George. So, and they weren't allowed to in that place, St. George and St. Paul, they've become complete shitholes. Oh, your camera's gone. Wait, hold on. Let me set it back up. Your camera's turned off. Did you do it to save on?
Speaking of St. George.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Speaking. Yeah. I want to make sure that, because I'm not quite sure what the issue.
What is it?
Is, so I just want to make sure that I'm not dropping out again. But as it applies to St. George, when we talk about Ghost of Yotei later.
Yes.
Ghost of Yotei, the PlayStation. And we were.
Hello?
If you. Oh.
John dropped again. Okay. I'll wait for him to come back, but in the meantime, we'll keep going. And here's JoJo, so that you guys are. Hey JoJo. Hey JoJo. Hey JoJo. You're looking at me, but he's giving me the side eye. Anyway. John will be back, hopefully, pretty soon. So, technical difficulties with Badgers. Well, it's not me, but yeah, I guess so. All right, anyway. So, they changed the name because it's about the companions. So it sounds like it's going to be about the relationships. I don't know, man. It doesn't look good to me. At all. Like, I didn't really care. I didn't even care for the first one. Was anybody here a fan of any of the Dragon Age games? Because I didn't even like the first one. I finished the first one, but I wasn't crazy about it. I didn't like the art direction. I thought it was ugly as fuck, especially wizards. They were the ugliest fucking, and I made a wizard because I wanted to try something different. So, I didn't care for it. And I didn't find it very challenging either. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I think I literally got a TPK, like a total party death, once. Okay, let me try to add you again. So you should be popping into existence here in a second. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, as you mentioned, St. George, the Ghost of Yotei game that we're going to be talking about later, I believe it was on Hypno's channel, Hypnotic. They superimposed George Floyd's face on top of Yasuke, the character that's supposed to be, the protagonist of hold on, sorry, it's not Ghost of Yotei.
Assassin's Creed Shadows. You're talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows,
yeah. So Yasuke is evidently the face model is directly, it's George Floyd.
Yes,
in a
I know.
Garb.
Yes,
So
no,
they
based Yasuke's appearance on George Floyd. Like, the guy has done so much more after he died than ever in his life, I think. Like, he has been made into a fucking celebrity.
All he did when he was alive was, all he did while he was alive was sell drugs and overdose on fentanyl.
Yeah, he was like a low rent criminal for sure. And the thing is, this is what they're celebrating. Like, they don't even want to acknowledge the reality of that. But anyway, I digress. If you're curious, though, you should check out I think I did a stream on either this channel or my other channel where I went through a whole documentary and talked at length the whole George Floyd thing, like a completely needless chaos. Completely. But anyway. All right. So Dragon Age. Back to Dragon Age. So it doesn't. I was just saying I didn't even care for the original Dragon Age. And it's going to it's going to be garbage. Like, yeah, it was never my thing. I didn't even like the first game. I don't know why it took off. I just don't get it. So at all. But there was another thing. You guys
it was
probably
made by EA, so that was always my thing. That was like, no.
Yeah.
EA
You guys,
BioWare.
you guys probably heard about the whole like customization thing. I'm going to try and find the video on my channel here or on my Twitter page because I'm pretty sure I shared it, and it was a video clip where a woman talks about how your Veilguard character can have pronouns and you can give them top surgery scars. That literally makes no sense. It literally makes no sense.
Right. It's
like
fantasy reality that has nothing to... Yeah, it's just like, what does this have to do with any of this? And, to me, like, getting your tits cut off in the setting of this game does not seem like something people would seek. That seems like it would be a form of punishment. And a way to, kind of ridicule someone by making them suffer for the rest of their life by disfiguring them. So, I don't know. It's pure cope and ideological insanity. Well, again, like, who really like, guys, please don't support this, okay? Tell people not to support it. Save your money. There's another like an indie RPG that's coming out. Right, actually, it's in early access right now. It's called Monomyth, and I just watched a little part of a video put up by Splattercat Gaming. If you like you remember Kingsfield, these like first-person RPGs, it's like that. It's like a throwback. Check that out, okay? So straight up, it's literally called Monomyth. So the people who made it understand the Monomyth. They understand Joseph Campbell's work. I would say, if you want an RPG fix, play that. Not Dragon Age. It's dead, guys. It's dead. It's dead, and it hasn't even come out yet. Let's see. I wanted to find the video about that, but I don't see it here. But I do have something else that I thought was kind of funny. So let's look at this really quick. I'm going to share this tab instead. And I'm going to put it on screen here for you guys to see. So they're doing their Game of the Year awards at IGN, or they were. And Grums is saying, he's suggesting that they've cheated. It says, IGN appears to manipulate user votes for Game of the Year to erase Black Myth Wukong's substantial lead. Look at the timestamps and vote counts. Wukong drops from 90% to 74% in the span of an hour. They did this at 5 a.m. when most were asleep. But look at Final Fantasy in the number 2 spot. It doesn't gain much at all. Same with Helldivers. So here is, like the stuff people were into. So we have Black Myth Wukong is 94, 90%, then 88, then 85, then 84, then 74. And this is like over the course of, very late at night. And I thought that was so funny that I had to share what I thought it looked like. So if anybody gets this reference, I don't know, let me know. But that's kind of like the same thing, right? In the middle of the night, suddenly there were like a reduction in votes or an increase in votes. And it just sounds really familiar. I feel like, time doesn't always repeat, but it does rhyme. So can you see that, John? Are you there? Oh yeah, the graph. Yeah. I hope I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, you're here.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, you're talking about. Okay. Yeah, you're talking about the graphic with the red and blue lines on it. Looks kind of like an F. Yeah. Yes.
F's in the chat for Black Myth Wukong. Apparently it lost, or it's going to. I don't know what ended up happening with the Game of the Year award. I know that there are some games that probably deserve it. I don't know like what you guys think Game of the Year is. I know the games that I have enjoyed the most but they probably won't get nominated. I've enjoyed #Blood. I enjoyed The Great Rebellion. I enjoyed Space Marine 2, and I even enjoyed Helldivers 2 despite all of the controversy. But I don't think they're gonna win. I think they're gonna give it to some bullshit other game. Are you
Most
there?
likely.
Yeah,
and like the thing that the image most reminds people of probably is you know, a certain election we had about, I don't know, 4 years ago.
Hey, I don't know what you're talking about. YouTube, please don't
you know, I'm
at me.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so let's go
It was
to
for Dogcatcher.
yeah, let's go to the next thing here, and I'm like slowly getting rid of tabs as I go, so like save on memory. But I'm pretty good on that.
Resources
I'm pretty good on that
available.
right now. I did get a couple super chats. I should probably read really quick. So Dean Domino, thank you,
Yeah.
gives us $4.99 and says, I know you prefer older anime, but you should check out Frieren, pretty good series, and it pissed off wokies. Then he gives another $4.99 to complete his thought and says, probably because the demons remind them of themselves. Demons don't speak to communicate, only to deceive. Ah. Yeah, I've heard things about
They
it.
are
I just
Legion.
yeah, I've heard a lot about it, but I haven't really
And they
had.
refer to themselves in pronouns.
Yes, the demons do. Have you watched this show?
Oh no. I'm just saying, like, you know, generally speaking, like in the Bible, like we are Legion. You know, like
Oh,
the
yeah.
whole thing about like being a Legion of bafflement. You know, like you have both genders, and you're just kind of like a construct of evil. Like, you know,
For sure. Yeah, for sure. For
it's
sure.
all it's yeah.
Okay, so what else? Oh, I wanted to talk about this this guy. I don't remember his name, but let me put it on the screen. Made a video, and this kind of like puts it, you know, it doesn't really get much more straightforward than this, in my opinion. So let me just see if I can find
this video.
yeah. So this individual essentially works for Sweet Baby Inc. Identifies as non-binary, has a nose ring, and believes Quentin
Their
Tarantino
narrative
is
designer.
he's a narrative designer. Yes, works for Sweet Baby Inc. And he has explicitly said that he is going to destroy or wants to tear down the industry, burn it to the ground, explicitly.
Burn it to the ground was the
Yep. And I knew that. I said it for years. These people don't want to fix anything. They will tell you that, but they will just destroy it. It's like, you know, it's like a mechanic that is very sketchy, and he looks at your car and he finds, putting in quotes, finds new things wrong with it so that he can charge you more money. But he has no intention of actually fixing your car. And that's the thing. Like, these people don't want to do what's right. And it's all about, this is the thing that's you know, really interesting. It's never about what is best for, you know, a story. It's all about what is self-serving, like self-serving in the fact that they don't like, you know, like here he even says, I'm gonna play a little bit of this, okay? Why am I still here? I'll play this bit, or maybe, oh no, here we go. This is the bit. So cool. Why am I here? Okay, we're gonna go with this.
So cool, but why am I here? Well, I'm here because we're all game devs of color even. And I think a lot of us, given our shared experiences, have seen how limited in scope and imagination entertainment can be. Obviously, a big part of that is just the reality of working in a creative system that prioritizes capital over telling stories that truly entertain, enrich, and benefit people.
So he says stories that prioritize capital. What is he talking about? Come on. Are you guys like getting the commie language? Do you hear it when they say it? They put it in like these flowery terms, but what are they really saying? We don't like that people have choices that when it comes to how they spend their money. That's it. So I wish that it wasn't that way.
Right.
Okay. So
yeah, what's really interesting too, like the lispiness, I noticed this a lot, is that their faces don't really actually articulate appropriately. It's like they're fake people.
They are. They're
Actually have the capacity to. They're constructs.
Yeah, there's this thing that we talk about on Honey Badger Radio. It's called Duper's Delight. And it's the face that feminists make when they are getting away with a lie and they know it. And it's basically like this half smile, this smirk. Okay. And they can't control it. They can't. It's an unconscious thing that you'll see. Yeah, it's the smugness. So when you get the sense that someone's being smug, that's what it is. They're smug because they have just manipulated language to control reality, and you fell for it, and it gives them a sense of power over you. And so you have to. This guy is doing it all through the presentation, but all of these people do it. All of them: the journalists, the politicians, the academics, the fucking the marketing people, the HR people, the narrative directors, whatever. They're all doing it, and they don't. And it's because they are insecure theater kids that are narcissists, and they believe that everything they say must be true because they're good people. And this is where all of this wokeness spawns from, is this like desire or need to be morally superior to everybody else. And so that's how it comes out. And that's why they can say things like, yeah, I want to burn it all down, because in their mind, this is the right thing to do, and they're better people for wanting to do it. So,
right.
Anyway.
The world will be a better place once we get rid of all you bigoted, useless eaters and all this.
Why don't you like the things that we are giving you? We're just going to tear it all down, and then you'll have no choice. Which
is really hilarious, because they're like so self-destructive. Because like these are the people who openly go and get themselves castrated, or get hysterectomies done. At the middle of the fucking DNC event.
Yep. For sure.
It's the craziest thing.
All right, let's play some more. So yeah, first off, let's shit on people's property rights and their free will to decide how to use those property rights.
But beyond that, there's also a large extent to which many of the people seeking to tell stories in games simply don't know how, which is fine. That's why we at Sweet Baby do what we do.
That's bullshit too. What do you mean? Tell better stories. Like there are stories that didn't need your input that are probably way better than anything you guys could come up with. But see, it's not about better stories, because what does that even mean? What does it even mean to tell better stories for them?
It means stories that fall within the constraints of narrative design and their limitations, so that this is off limits and you can only do the thing that we find to be morally upright and obtuse. And the thing that everyone, like, this is straight out of, like, the Devil's Playbook. I will make you be good. I will make you be perfect, And, like, and that's why, like, the greater good has always led to the worst evil in humanity.
Yep. All right, let's keep going. So, yeah, the cooler stories, they mean their stories.
But we hit a wall sometimes when it's not just that creatives don't know how to tell a story well, it's that they want to tell a certain story, and a certain story that often they're unequipped to tell. And when I say unequipped to tell, I don't mean in terms of resourcing. I mean in creative people or teams who want to tell a story, they don't have the identity, perspective, experience, or empathy to tell.
So, okay, I'm going to dig into this any deeper than that, but he's essentially saying that only Sweet Baby Inc. has the right approach, or other sort of like connected, or similarly ideologically focused groups can actually tell a story from the perspectives of the character. Now, if I was a game developer and they told me that, I would say, you know what, from now on, all my games are going to have straight white men in it, period. Like, forever. And you know what? I would be okay with that. I'm okay with that, because if it's going to be so much of a pain in the ass to put a character that's not a straight white dude in a game, I don't want to do it. And I don't think any other people should do it. Like, they just don't do it anymore. Just stop. Just don't do it.
The funny thing about this is these people open themselves up, and what they truly reveal is that they don't believe in the human experience.
No, they don't.
Because again, they are social constructs. they're human they're human shaped locusts here to destroy all of the good crops that we've cultivated over space and time.
Yep. Read a couple of notes. I'm going to read a few notes from his PowerPoint here that sort of like tells you what kind of person we're dealing with. Yeah. So, why am I still here? To stop people who are uncomfortable hearing that not every story is theirs to own. That is, I'm here to be offensive to the approved groups like straight white dudes. To prove that spaces where whiteness doesn't have to live is where some of the best stories are told. And when you do genre well, it's about going deep into that well of discomfort and telling a story that has bite. When he says that, he means is offensive to the correct people and attacks the correct people. Which, that's it. That's what it is. Right. It's about let's be offensive. And then it's like, why didn't you buy my game? Because that's what it comes down to. Why didn't anyone buy Dustborn? Because it was cringe, and they didn't want to deal with that shit. Okay? He goes into Blazing Saddles and talks about how he loves it, not because it's offensive, but because of the way that it exposes, the evil white people in the movie. So he's a scumbag, period. He's a scumbag. So, yep. I don't think that they deserve any respect. And we should ridicule them. So, and they can't escape their identity. They can't escape it. They're it's like the worst thing. So, all right. So I wanted to show let me see. I want to get into some good news. I think that we have some good news. But first, we should talk about Ghost of Yotei. Yotei. All right.
Yotei, yeah. Ghost of Yotei. Yeah.
Not to be confused with Assassin's Creed Shadows, but it is weird that both of these are kind of like similar. Ghost of Yotei is
kind
the
of like
sequel.
All the witch games or witch.
Oh yeah, the witch stuff. Right
they work through the power of because it's all reinforcement. They just keep beating you over the head because it's that whole thing about if I brute force a lie into reality long enough, well, now it's better than the truth because it's the thing that everybody has to look at, and all that stuff that actually ever was. Well, now that's the lie. You've been deceived your entire life with all these things that were just natural and just apparent through the human experience. But no, you need your narrative controlled.
Yeah. So, so you guys probably you've heard of this game, Ghost of Yotei. I keep getting it wrong. Whatever, I don't care.
Yotei.
It's the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, which is a game I was actually really interested in playing, but I never I couldn't make the time, and I didn't have the money, and I could probably play it now, but I'm probably gonna wait a little while to get it if I decide to at all, because now that all of this has happened, I think I have a free version of it. Yep. I just haven't started it, but I heard Ghost of Tsushima was the shit. Okay, and everybody was talking about how great it was and how much of a good experience, and nothing about any woke bullshit. It was just like a samurai action game made by, is it Sucker Punch? I don't even remember. Doesn't matter. I don't care. Sucker Punch, right? Okay, because I always get Sucker Punch, and there's another developer, not Naughty Dog, but there was another
Sucker Punch and Rocksteady. Sometimes I get those a little bit mixed up, but yeah.
Okay. So, so we had this new game just got announced, and it's a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, but it doesn't bring back the original hero, the original main character. Instead, they're going with a woman, and everybody's flipping out. Okay, so. I want to be... We don't know anything yet about what the game will contain, okay? We don't know that it's going to be, politically charged or whatever. But there are a few things that we do know. We do know who is going to be playing the role of the character in this game, okay? It's a woman named Erika Ishii. And she is an insufferable political activist. Theater kid, actress thing.
The both.
In what?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me see. Oh, that she's insufferable. Yeah. So yeah, there's still like some lag, but it's okay. I'm just gonna wait until I'm done talking. I won't speak. So okay. What? Here is Andimion. He made a tweet and he says, "Ghost of Tsushima sequel stars a Japanese woman samurai warrior because of course it does. They can't help themselves until every franchise that was built on masculinity is replaced by women. Ghost of Yotei is hopefully a smaller spin-off game, but if this is the true sequel and this is the new main character over Jin Sakai, fuck that. So sick of the forced girl boss narrative." We don't know for sure. Okay. So here he says, Smash ET says, "I think you're jumping to conclusions a tad fast on this one. I'm not opposed to a girl lead for the fact that it's just a girl. We just got a brief trailer. I want to see more. Would I have preferred to continue Jin's story? Hell yeah, but at this point we don't have enough info." So we're going back and forth on this. But now we got Erika Ishii. Erika Ishii has, and I will give my thoughts on that. Whether or not people are jumping the gun or what.
All of her game credits, she's always been an activist.
Yeah.
In every game that she plays a voice role in, it's always about activism.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It's pattern recognition.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You know, she wouldn't have taken the job if she didn't get her opportunity.
Yep. So Erika Ishii says, "I'd really love to see Netflix cast a non-binary or gender-fluid actor as Ed in Cowboy Bebop. It just makes sense." And then Spartan says, "How about we prioritize good acting before gender or sexuality, and if they happen to be non-binary, great." This was like when the show was first announced, I think, so it's 2019 there. Right. Erika Ishii says, "I wonder why you automatically assume the best actor to portray someone non-binary would be cis. You should consider your biases." And Spartan says, "I could say the same exact thing to you. You should consider your biases." Well, the thing is, and then she says, "I'm gender fluid. I scream as I shoulder my way past the massive line for the women's restroom and sprint straight into the men's stalls." What does that even mean? Drunk guy got up in my space at the arcade to ask, "Are you single?" Yeah, go ahead. What?
I was gonna say, well, it's just like her whole thing is like, well, since I'm gender fluid, I get to speak for both sexes, and I'm the next iteration. It's this fucking Borg mentality. You will be assimilated.
Erika Ishii then says, there's another tweet. This is just to get an idea of what kind of person we're looking at here. "Drunk guy got up in my face at the arcade to ask, 'Are you single?' while I was playing a rhythm game. I shouted, 'Dude, if you bother me while I'm playing a game, I will kick your fucking ass,' as my girlfriend and a them fatale, God, is that a new one? A new word? A new word just dropped, guys.
Christ.
Them fatale walked up to flank me. Haven't seen him since." Oh, God. This is painful. The positive messages.
After, that exchange, you'll never would again, because I wouldn't want to be anywhere near that energy.
No. Here's another one where she says, "The positive messages you learn from a story are yours alone. That the storyteller is a hateful bigot on the wrong side of history. Can't take that away from you. Trans and non-binary people are valid. Fight hatred. Don't think I've ever said the F word here, but truly, fuck TERFs." Okay, so is this a death sentence to this Ghost of Yotei thing? Maybe. It's certainly a red flag.
And even Sony's pissed off about this game.
Yeah. No, I bet.
Even Sony, for all their faults, they don't want anything to do with this thing, because it's like they're like, "What are you doing? We're running out of money here. We need a sure thing. You were supposed to be a sure thing. What the hell are you doing?" It was basically Sony's response. So, at the end of the day, even though Sony's got their own ethical issues and ideology fuckery that's going on, they still want to make money, and they wanted to rely on somebody that they could rely on. Instead,
too late for that. Too late for that. You shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry, but look, I think that if somebody said, "I'm not buying this because I don't like the actress," I'm not going to stand in the way of that. I mean, look, most people who work in like these industries, most of them are woke. Let's stop pretending that the majority are not. I think the majority are, and if it isn't the case that the majority is, then there is an industry full of moral cowards, moral fags that don't want to step up and say what needs to be said and like become the obstacle, okay? Right. And so you have to decide, okay, if you're not with this, then you have to speak out against it. And if that means you become like you get fired or whatever, then oh well, then go find like prepare yourself, okay? Work with indie devs that are not woke. Work with devs that don't give a shit. Find AAA, AA developers that are against this and work there because you're contributing. You're allowing this to happen. Now, frankly, I don't care what happens to these companies because I've already made up my mind about whether or not I'm going to spend my money. Okay. Oh, you don't get fired. Death sentence. You get blacklisted.
Subscription is going to... my PSN subscription expires, I believe, in February, and I will never put another $1 into a PlayStation system ever again after that. That's it. I'm done. You know.
Yeah.
I'm half tempted at that point in time. I might just jailbreak this thing and turn it into a Linux box. It's a piece of shit already. So you know, I might as well try to get something out of it that is at least interesting and fun to do with my time.
Yeah, and these people live in a bubble, right? Like they're surrounded by people who already like have their same politics, so they don't know what an opposing opinion looks like. They don't think that any of them exist. That's why they believe that like people like us are the crazy ones that are like obsessed, you know. And it's like, no, I'm just pointing out what you guys do, and then I'm saying, look, don't buy this shit, but over here, buy this other shit if you want to, right? So that's it.
Yep.
Okay, so I wanted to let's talk a little bit about Ubisoft and where they're at right now. So I have here,
there's a lot about Ubisoft.
Yeah, Ubisoft is
like the last 2 weeks while you were gone was just Ubisoft went completely off the rails, and that's saying something because they were pretty fucked to begin with.
Yeah, for sure. So let me share this tab, and we're gonna put this. So there's a lot going on with Ubisoft. I know that they're in a lot of trouble, but I haven't really been completely up to date on it. So if you could help me out. But here's an article that you shared entitled "Ubisoft may be circling the drain. A Chinese mega publisher is reportedly considering purchasing the Assassin's Creed makers." It's like literally all they're known for now. Remember when Ubisoft made a lot of different games? Yeah.
Right. Well, my theory on that is such that they used to make a lot of games when it behooved them to have the Ubisoft name on there. But because that's become more cancerous as time has gone by, this is the whole thing about how SBI and all the other consulting firms were spun out of the Ubisoft HR department. And so they are quite literally doing a faux indie kind of face-off kind of, ploy to get people to think that it's not Ubisoft being anything more than the publisher of these games, but it is quite literally just Ubisoft with subsidiaries that are under an umbrella corporation that is teaching them how to slush fund and make more of these, pyramid schemed kind of companies that are beholden to whatever is above them. And so, this is just it's money laundering. It's been legalized. And they're obscuring the truth by hiding behind these false fronts, and they're just masks for what is Ubisoft. So they still put out all the same amount of games a year now, but they don't put them out directly unless they're getting like either one of their standout titles, quote unquote, like Assassin's Creed, or if they get a shitload of money from Disney. And that's part of the reason why they're failing too, is because when they take the money from Disney is not hit with the risk in this situation. Ubisoft is. And so Ubisoft will fall to a larger scale entity. And once they can take it private again, everything that's been going on for the last 15, 20 years within that organization can no longer really be investigated, because then they can say, well, it's a private company and we're not, connected to any of that stuff from beforehand, and fuck off. And especially if it goes to China, So there's like this whole back and forth between the family that owns the company trying to make it go private again, or Tencent, who's got stakeholder rights in the company already. And it's going to be one of two ways that it falls. Either way, it's going to end up getting privatized.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Tencent has money in everything, so I don't think you can avoid that at all. But it does. But it does. No. This whole thing does kind of lean into what I suspected was going on with China, because they push the DEI stuff in Western companies, but not on their own companies, and it's to intentionally either subvert or propagandize us, or if we just decide not to support them, essentially economically destroy their competition. And frankly, I don't blame China for doing that, because ultimately these companies had a choice into whether or not they were going to go along with it, and they did. And they did because they wanted to feel good about themselves, because they wanted to be better people. And so that's their mistake. I wouldn't even blame China, honestly. I mean, it's cutthroat and it's kind of shitty, but the Ubisoft didn't have to go along with that. So, and then they can just buy them. Yeah, they can just buy them after they've lost enough money, and now they'll own them. And so again, whose fault is that?
Yep.
Is how I see it. So
controlled opposition kind of thing,
Okay, so there is something I'm looking for that I wanted to show you guys that I thought would be very funny. So there's this Netflix show that's coming out. It's like an anthology. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's an anthology about video games, but it has it's got a lot of short stories like Mega Man and Space Marines and God of War. Do you know what that?
Concord.
Yes, that's what I was going to show you. Yes, do you remember what it's called?
What the name of the series is, but yes.
I'm going to find it because we're going to look at it.
I can't remember the name of the series, but
it's going to be hilarious, is all I'm saying. It's going to be hilarious. But yeah, I can't find it right now, but I do want to show you guys something dealing with Concord as well. So you probably know that Concord was at the or not Concord, Dustborn. It was about Dustborn. So Dustborn was at the Tokyo Game Show, and here's a screenshot of the booth that nobody was at. Let me show you guys. Completely empty. 3 chairs.
Well,
you can play the game.
Kim Bel-Air's there.
Where? I don't see her.
I see two Kim Bel-Airs, and no, it's Kim Bel-Air. She's squatting down on the right hand side.
Oh yeah, right.
On the left hand side, I guess, depending on how you look at the screen. And then she's big in profile. That's totally Kim Bel-Air. She's, at least if not Kim Bel-Air, very ethnically beige or ethically beige. Either way works. I as you know, like to say ethnically beige, but someone was repeating me the other day and they said ethically, and I was like, oh, that actually might be more appropriate.
Yeah. Yeah. So Dustborn was at the Tokyo Game Show. It was completely empty. I'm sure that some people probably came to look at it, but at this stage, what's the point? And I don't know. Does this mean the Japanese are still not completely into the woke thing? I don't know, man. I don't know. Secret Level. Let me see. I think this is the one I wanted to show. Secret Level trailer. Yes, I think this is it. So it's Unreal Tournament teaser trailer. They just put out this thing. I want to show you all after this ad is over. We'll take a look at it. But let me share this tab right now. And let me see what you guys are saying in the meantime. All right. So it says here, Kane Bladed, thank you, Kane Bladed, for all of your commentary, says, in an industry where you get paid shit to begin with, yeah, you're not wrong in so many of them bowing, but it's not as simple as it seems, sorry to say. Not in the industry, but know enough people who are/were. Yeah. BlackRock has $1 billion invested in a couple of the Japanese dev houses and manga and movie houses. So yeah, no, we know it all comes down to the same, the same people trying to control our media and the stories that we tell. So, all right. So here is the secret level teaser trailer. And actually, people thought this was like a new Unreal Tournament game, and they're so disappointed that it was just some Netflix bullshit. So,
in 2291, in an attempt to control violence among deep space miners, the New Earth government legalized no-holds-barred fighting. Leandro Mining Corporation, working with the NEG, established a series of leagues and bloody public exhibitions. The fight's popularity grew with their brutality. Soon, Leandro discovered that the public matches were the most profitable enterprise. The professional league was formed. A cabal of the most violent and skilled warriors in known space selected to fight in a grand tournament.
It's time. This world has waited.
I don't know what all these references are, but I do know Armored Core. Yeah, is that Destiny? I have no idea. Oh, yeah, it is. I think it is.
You will open the door.
But basically, this is not a game. This is an anthology. Some of the games that are referenced in it, though, are games that I like. Armored Core, for example, that's there. Sifu is one of them. So I'm going to play this really slow so we can see it. Okay.
It's a new...
And I'm going to mute it because the sound's going to be terrible. So I want you to see this.
Right.
So is Mega Man, because they're going to be like blasting through these really quick. So I slowed it way down as much as I could. This is God of War. I don't recognize all these things. I think Destiny is in there. Ghost of Tsushima was in there. That was what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean...
It'll probably be like a transition story that they use to try to get the Ghost of Yotei narrative going.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. So, because, I mean, like, honestly, at this point, like, this could have just been an anthology series, but I think that it's basically going to be marketing for other products, you know? This is kind of like Ready Player One, got an enema, and then they decided to make a few shows out of what came out. Yeah, right? But the thing is, though, I like Space Marines, I like Armored Core, I like Mega Man. I'm a huge Mega Man fan. But yeah, like, I don't know. I get, if it's like different people and they're all like doing their own thing, like you have different writers, different directors, maybe it's just going to be a mixed bag. Maybe there's going to be some garbage in there. Maybe most of it's going to be garbage and there's going to be a couple of gems. But I want to know what that Sifu, that was a great game. I want to know what they're going to do with, how are they going to do Concord? Because Concord is on the list. Like Sony was really invested in this game being a hit. Like, what if it's a mascot fighter? No. It's a show. It's a Netflix show. Yeah, Sony was really invested in Concord.
For like the amount of money they spent on Concord, kept going up to the point.
That's D&D.
It's when all things are considered.
So here you can see like PlayStation. These are like the logos. Dungeons and Dragons.
10 days.
Yep. Outer Worlds 2. I don't even know if is that game out or what. Pac-Man. So we didn't really see Pac-Man in the intro here, but Honor of Kings, I don't even know what that is. Armored Core, again, I think it's a great franchise. Mega Man, another one I like. Exodus, I don't know what that is. Spelunky, Crossfire, Concord, Sifu. So yes, Concord is going to be appearing. Yeah. There it is. And I don't know, man.
Yep.
I don't know.
You know, the thing that I find interesting about Concord, right? But the thing I find interesting about them naming it Concord is you look back at like a lot of these weird vestigial connections that all this woke shit has. It's from Concord University. The one in Canada, the one in Boston, the one over in the UK. Like the entire... that's where you find a lot of these people that are actually end up being part of the WEF and like, you know, all this kind of weird shit for platforming. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's totally an indoctrination line.
Oh, for sure. It's all it. Like I said, it's all. It's just a new propaganda
Yeah,
vehicle.
it's like
I
making
think.
widgets in a factory.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, there's a show. It's coming out on Netflix. It's called Secret Level, and it's probably like the fact that they even have Concord in there. It's gonna be memed into oblivion, dude. It's gonna be memed into oblivion, and I hope it is. I hope it is. Kane Bladed says, "Hey, maybe some of them will be good. Not saying they can't, but I trust this as much as I trust the Marvel one shots. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's see. We're on good time, but I want to I want to get into some more woke garbage, but then I want to end on some good things. I got a lot of good things. Some of this woke stuff isn't really bad, honestly. It's just cringe, but like that's okay. Or it's sort of like, as long as it's something I expect, I'm not bothered by it. So, you guys probably know that Snow White's coming out pretty soon. I don't know if it's out already or whatever. I have no idea. But we're preparing for the haters.
No,
and
they're doing like a whole new round of editing on it, because they, at first they were going to have the woke baristas, all the Starbucks from Seattle characters that were going to take the place of the dwarves. And then when that fell through, they went and they made their dwarf models, and everybody's like, God, those are creepy and very unsettling. And so now they're like trying to figure out how to fix that. So there's and that's seven characters that they have to re-rig, reanimate, re-everything.
Yeah, yep. Speaking of these like last minute
ratchet
changes, like these kind of like desperation moves, there's a rumor, it's not confirmed, but there's a rumor that Ubisoft is going to remove Yasuke from the game altogether. So they're going to take him out completely.
Yeah, I don't.
And there's another rumor they're going to make it co-op, like put a co-op mode, but yeah.
Yep.
Well, they delayed the game to next year, so.
Right. But when you're making games, it's easier to build around something than it is to remove something. So I would say that it's more than likely what they'll probably end up doing is they'll have the original Japanese character that was slated to be in the Assassin's Creed game, because that used to be the thing about Assassin's Creed was, here's a story about this part of the world, and here's a person that's actually from that era, and that, everything. And, it's like, instead with what they're doing, because there's actually 2 Assassin's Creed games coming out in the near future.
Oh, right. The other one is the Witches.
Whatever they're going to do.
Yeah.
Hex. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Because that's what we need. More witches. This is like, this is like when I say they always double down. Yeah, they're just going to double down. That's what they do. They're doubling down until basically all they do is just come out and be like, okay, we're demons. Like, this is what we are now. We're out of where we can't go any lower. We're at the bottom of the abyss. I am Beelzebub or Yinagu or Orcus, Prince of the Undead, like whatever.
Baphomet.
Yeah, Baphomet.
Right.
Grozd. But I think that's where it's going. That's why they're like
all praise Moloch.
Yeah, Moloch. Yeah, exactly. Play an avatar of Moloch. Like there is like a game where you're like in a cult and stuff that I saw like a video for, like a trailer for. I have to like find it, but there was one where you're like a cult leader, and it's like it's creepy. I was like, this is kind of like creepy to me. I don't know. I think that gamers are generally more sensitive. Like, I wanted to give my final thoughts on that whole thing about Ghost of Yotei. So, like, at this point, you have damaged the good faith that the gaming audience has given you so much that it almost doesn't matter if your new Ghost of game turns out to not be woke, because you've already, like, gamers are like, I'm tired of this shit. I don't care if it's not woke now. And I think that's probably, that's your fault. That's your fault. Cult of the Lamb? I don't know. That's the one I was thinking about. It was different, I think. It wasn't that, I don't think. My life as a cult leader, maybe. That might be it. I don't know. But anyway, just kind of like, that's a bit borderline, even though it has like cutesy graphics. But I don't know, like you're like drawing magic circles and the whole thing. And I'm like, I don't know if I don't think I'm into that. But anyway, I digress. So Rachel Ziegler did an interview with Variety in an attempt to promote her Snow White movie. And it's entitled Rachel Ziegler on they spelled her name wrong. Holy shit. She's probably going to be pissed off with them. On reinventing Snow White and Juliet, and facing off against toxic Disney fans, I've watched women get torn down my whole life. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but all I will say is that this is like par for the course, predictable. You guys have seen it many times, okay? You know, Disney or Warner Brothers or whoever puts out new thing, you know, woman that is like the star is outspoken, says a bunch of fucked up shit, then you know the audience responds and like, well, we're not going to watch that, or they basically just call her what she is, and then they say, well, I'm not going to watch your new show or your new product or whatever, and then they do interviews with the person and they attack the fan base. Well, we're not going to, you know, I'm going to I'm gonna dunk on the haters. I'm gonna own the chuds. I'm gonna tell them if you don't like it, don't watch it. Then they do that with Ghost of Yotei. The guy said if you don't like it, don't play it. And it's like, okay, yeah, your terms are acceptable. Like that's exactly what we're gonna do. Like I don't see a problem here. You know,
that's like, hey. Right?
Yeah,
it seems we're all actually on common ground finally.
Like, yeah, we're all on the same page. Not gonna buy it. Cool. So again, if she's like, well, if you don't like my interpretation of the Seven Dwarves, then don't watch it. And it's like, all right, yep, sounds good to me, you know. And again, it's gonna be a massive flop. Let me see. Was there like one other thing? Oh yeah, that's right.
It's approaching $1 billion in
the spending
in all the reshoots and everything they've done. Yeah. It's, they said already that it's over it's $500 million already, and that's not even including when they ever get around to doing the marketing for this piece of shit.
Yeah. So
it's gonna have to like do so much money just to even break even. It's not even possible. You know.
What a shame. Let's see. Kane Bladed says, well, this one, just like The Little Mermaid, is worse than the normal because even the actress thinks that they are better creators than people who created 200-year-old classics. Yeah, for sure. Well, or like the fairy tale itself. They just don't understand. Like this is like a product of presentism, you know? Like these people, they think that the time they live in is just the best time with the best people, and they're the smartest and the most wise and the best educated, the most understanding and the most tolerant. Right. They're just the better people than anyone who ever lived before. And that's why everything from the past has to be like torn down because it was made by people who are less good than they are. Like that's literally what it is. It's like the eternal present. Right. There's no like, you know, I think that nostalgia can be a bad thing. Can be a sickness. Now. But they only live in the now, and they believe the now is the best. That's why you have people. If I said, "Oh, you know, here's this, you know, this book written by this old like guy from like the Renaissance or something," and they'd be like, "Oh, well, those guys were they were like homophobic and racist, so I don't want to hear about that." Even though they could be saying something completely poignant. I think that we make a grave mistake in presuming that the people who have lived before us were dumber than us. I think it's a grave mistake, especially when people are so poorly educated today, and our understanding of history is so warped, right? Yes. Or at least if we like get it from, you know, our schools, our academic institutions. So yeah, for sure. It's going to be
right. You go to a doctor nowadays, you're not actually getting patient care, you're getting pharmaceutical care. And pharmaceutical care only knows, you know, what they say are the standards. And if you don't fit the standard, well, I guess, you know, it's on you. And it's like, well, no, maybe like as a doctor, you might actually want to have patience. And then by that, I don't mean people that you see. I mean, take time to sit with like what the situation is, discern. Try to actually break down like who this person is, why they are the way they are, everything that's going into the condition. And they simply can't do that because, you know, it's like that's not what Pfizer pays them to do, or Merck, or, you know, Avante or whatever, like, you know, Gardasil, like all this shit.
Yep. So Starfield, fucking pronouns. Released a new expansion, their first expansion called Shattered Space, and nobody seems to like it. It's received mostly negative Steam reviews as GameSeek's peak player counts declined by 95%. Woo! We'll look at the numbers later. That's usually what we do at the end of the show. So we'll see what the Steam numbers are for this. So, Bethesda's first expansion, Shattered Space, for its sci-fi RPG sandbox game Starfield, received mostly negative reviews on Steam as the game's peak player count has declined by 95% in a little over a year since the game released. And I'm bringing this up only just really briefly. The only reason why I brought this up is because my favorite nemesis, David Jaffe, who is the guy who basically sold his soul, which is God of War, to Santa Monica Studios while they basically destroyed it, and he sits there defending it to this day. He said, "Oh, the Shadow Space is really good. It looks really great," and he was like owning the chuds on his own channel. No, it doesn't look like anybody likes it, bro. I don't know anything about it, but I think that they decided to pivot towards things like gameplay and less about pronouns, and it's too late because no one plays your game anymore. So yeah, Starfield, Bethesda, release a game.
Yeah, David Jaffe at this point. I was gonna say at this point, David Jaffe couldn't buy a clue in a yarn store.
Yeah,
he's just completely off base at this point.
All right. So I just wanted to mention that in brief. Player numbers a year later only matter for time expansion or in online stuff. Is Starfield not online? I have no idea. I thought it was, but no idea. All right, so
I think that it might be one of those games that has an online component. That's one of the things that's happening in Sony in the broader terms, like with their their PlayStation 5 pronouns. It's got if you want to use the disk drive, the disk drives themselves are just a gateway to getting you hooked onto the internet. Because if you don't have an internet connection, then your disk drive that you have to pay extra for doesn't work. It has to check into the internet every few days to actually even be validated. So this is all moving towards you don't own anything. It's all just digital rights management bullshit. And even if you think that you have some kind of way to bypass that, that's the whole reason why the disk drive is not built into the system, because they don't want you to be able to just use it without plugging it into the internet.
Yeah, so I guess limited online. It's a single player game. Online component. It's not a live service game. Okay. Well, apparently it's failing. I'm not saying the game is bad. I don't know. I'll probably never know. So, yeah. They've insisted since DVDs were printed that you own nothing. Yeah, this is another problem. Like the lack of physical copies. I have a ton of physical copies, but yeah, they're moving towards like these, games as a service thing. But it's like a lot of other things. People just have to reject it. All right, let's move on to the next thing here. So now we're gonna get into some good news. Okay, so Stellar Blade is getting a Nier Automata collab with Eve X2B out in 2024. So let's look at this briefly.
That's not all.
So it looks like it's going to be skins for Eve to look like 2B.
Sci-fi worlds collide in the Stellar Blade and Nier Automata collaboration, coming to Stellar Blade later this year.
It's not much, but I gotta say, the world is not ready. Yeah, this is going to be insane. I gotta say, and I made a post about this, I was like, what is it with 2B being put in every game just to trigger people? Like, it seems like the purpose of 2B is to upset the wokies, because she was put in Soul Calibur 6.
Yep.
She was put in she's obviously in her own game. She was also put in there was I can't remember the name of the game, but it was like made by Arc System Works, and it's sort of like, it has that like cell shaded Guilty Gear style animation, but it's not Guilty Gear, and they put 2B in there as a playable character. And now she is in Stellar Blade. So we're going to see 2B in everything now. And you know what? I'm here for it. I'm 100% here for it. So I wanted to show off that. Do you want to say anything about 2B being
we're not
Stellar
against
Blade?
women. Yeah, like we're not against women. We actually like women that are feminine and actually resemble women, and not like this weird transgenderous like androgyny like construct shit that they're trying to get across with type A and type B body sets.
Yeah. Let's see. BlazBlue, no. It had like 3D. BlazBlue still uses 2D pixel character like sprites. The game I'm thinking of has that cell shaded 3D polygon look like there's a lot of games that do it now, and I think they're all being put up by Arc System Works. But Guilty Gear, the last couple of Guilty Gears is my primary example because it's the one I have the most experience with. It's not BlazBlue though. But she, unless they made a CG like 3D animated BlazBlue game with cell shaded graphics, but it's more like the same kind of graphical style that Dragon Ball Fighter Z has, or I'm like forgetting. There's a couple of other games that there was one based on an RPG that they made into a fighting game and has that same graphical style. But anyway, if you guys remember, let me know and I'll mention it on the show. So let's move on to the next thing. This is good news. So Fallout 2 is getting a fan-made remake. And John left. Let me see if he comes back. He may have dropped. Grand Blue Fantasy, yes. That might be the one I'm thinking about. Final Fantasy 14 has one too? Might be the anime that has that style. Yeah. Jonathan dropped again. Hold on a second. Let me just see what he said. Blue screen. Be right back. Okay. That's all right. We may have to wrap it up after that, but I'll try to be quick. So someone is making a Fallout 2 remake. And yeah, it might get DMCA'd or something, but let's play this video. So on the right, you have the original Fallout 2, which is a lot of people's favorite Fallout game of all time. And then on this side, you have the remake, and he's trying to create, it looks like he's trying to recreate the entire thing, but in a first-person perspective, which I think is pretty cool. So there's the head, and, the shanty houses. Visuals not final, so this is a work in progress. And that's Fallout 2 remake, which I think is pretty awesome. I don't know, I think that I think we're gonna do a remake, right? I think changing the way that you interact with it can be a good thing, because people can always go back and play the old one if they prefer that. But I kind of find this pretty appealing, to be honest. I think it's pretty dope. And so this is the remake of Fallout 2. And this is a fan project. Again, this is a fan project, so they'll probably get a summons or something for doing this. Although the thing about Fallout, I don't know, but maybe has Fallout gone woke? Has anybody been keeping up? I think the last Fallout that I know about is Fallout 76, which is the online one that I guess started off as trash, but has become more and more playable over time with a lot of adjustments and whatnot. So the maps look good. Kane Bladed says, "Oh, I'm playing this if it gets anywhere near finished, but I'm fairly certain this will get DMC'd." Yeah, probably DMCA'd. Serathis says, "Right, the Final Fantasy 14 Nier Automata crossover was incomprehensible. Legend has it, only Yoko Taro understands the story." Norwegian says, "Bethesda is woke, so if Fallout haven't gone woke yet, it will." Yeah, probably. So, I don't know, what do you guys think? Kind of exciting, right? See people doing their own thing. Just checking to see if John's come back yet. No, not yet. He'll be back. So, I don't know. He's probably going to run into some legal problems, but I dig it. I don't know how you would get out of this. You'd have to like call it something else, maybe. So it's a mod pack like the recent Fallout 4 London mod release. Oh, so they made a mod for a Fallout game, I guess.
There we go. I'm back.
And you're back, right? Just as I just finished watching the Fallout 2 remake trailer, the video.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's actually kind of interesting because it's by modders. You know?
Yeah. It's basically a mod, right?
Yeah. To my understanding, they're using Fallout 4's engine, and it's a conversion mod to do Fallout 2 in a 3D space. It looks pretty good from what I have gathered from it so far. So I'm gonna keep my eye on it because I'm more hopeful for what the mod community can do with the Fallout series than what
Bethesda. Yeah, for sure. All right. Next bit of good news. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. But we are kind of like running out of time here. I do want to go through a couple more things. So the last bit of news, and then we'll look at some sales numbers. From Software. This is something you don't really hear very often. But From Software has announced that they're going to give a 11.8% raise for everyone on the team. AAA Western game defenders are trying to tell you that the horrible sales this year are because of gamers expecting too much or a horrible economy. This is a false narrative spun to avoid the real reasons. AAA studios have abandoned their customers, preferring to churn out buggy formula games that focus more on virtue signaling than gameplay. This is absolutely correct. Is another thing that people get wrong, except for Kirsha, who is one of the VTubers that's going to save the world, who said that, if you're putting your making sure that you have pronouns in your game and like kind of woke politics in your game before you make it a good game, you're not serving your customers. You're going to have a bad game. And I've been saying this from the beginning, So anyway, yeah, that's why you get like these buggy formula games that are incomplete at launch, but they have all the virtue signaling in place. From Software, Game Science, Helldivers, Pal World all have smaller budgets than Ubisoft, EA, and others like Activision and Blizzard, and compete in the same economy. They are killing it and giving people raises as Western companies do massive layoffs and cut costs. The lesson is clear for those that will listen. Gamers first, leave the pandering at the door. And so FromSoft, which is like still, I think they're still considered a smaller company. They're still like a AA developer. Their smash hit Elden Ring has been so successful that they were able to give their people a raise, which I wish that Armored Core 6 had sold more. I think it sold pretty well. I can look into it, but I think Armored Core 6 is a really good game that people missed out on. So anyway, any thoughts on that?
Well, I have heard recently that Elden Ring has kind of been money-hatted by Tencent. So again, this is one of those things where it's like, is it going to be like kind of a controlled opposition kind of thing where it's like, oh, this can still be good because ultimately it's going to lead to, the benefit of China to some degree. But, as we were saying, it's like, I don't have to necessarily, it's kind of like on X, I don't necessarily jive with like all of Elon Musk's various dubious implications. But for right now, I would much rather be able to speak my mind as freely as I possibly can and deal with like, the greater details beyond that, because right now this is the battle that we're in. And it's more important to kind of like, be strategically minded for the long term, but we have to be tactically motivated for the situation that we're in to actually deal with it so that, we can actually get to that strategy point.
Yes. All right. So let us know what you guys think about that one in the comments. And I got a comment from Caden Bladed that said, not just gaming, any project where the focus is the message and not the production. Absolutely 100%. And I got a super chow a rumble rant, from NovaFan. He says, my favorite part of the Godot controversy is Godot supporters claimed the Godot fork is stealing from them. Commies only value private property when they benefit from it. Yes, they do. They call it personal property when it benefits them. because they make this distinguish between what they call private property and personal property, like it matters. But it's just a way for them to get essentially, you know, work around their own fucking logic. So, all right. Freeware was stolen. Okay, yeah, exactly. All right, so let's look at some sales numbers and then we'll wrap it up. So we'll start with the good, and we'll put it on the screen. How's Black Myth Wukong doing? Still at 155,187 in game, and it's trending. I mean, like slow over time, but I think that's the nature of a single player experience. So that's what you're gonna get. Like, you know, as people finish the game and they move on to the next thing, then those numbers are gonna go down. Okay. Then we have Space Marine 2, 47,523. It's not great. It's also, again, trending downward. But I understand that Space Marine 2 is going to be releasing, like, some new content. I don't know if it's going to be free or whatever. It kind of, I mean, from what I understand, it kind of released a little bit on the bare bones side. Like, there were only a few multiplayer maps. The campaign was what most people like got out of it, which I'm enjoying for the first game. The campaign's great. And then there's also like a co-op mode, which it goes along with the story of the main campaign. So all of that sounds pretty good to me. And I think it is still a good game, but again, I think it's one of those things where, you know, gamers tend to move on over time, so the numbers are starting to decline. Dustborn has 5 people playing. This game's not canceled, by the way. Not canceled. No. Okay? It's just...
Well, the one thing it has going for it to be its saving grace is it is a single-player title. So, yeah, unlike, you know, Concord or something like that that relies on, you know, being a live service thing that has a multiplayer component to it and actually has to have people connecting, this is just a single-serving torture experience.
Yeah. That Tokyo... Robert Johnson says... That Tokyo Game Show bounce is coming. Yeah, that's right. That's why they went there, promoting the game. We're going to see a spike, I'm sure. Or more like a nub. And then we got Starfield, 16,000. They just released the new DLC, the new expansion, whatever it is, the new release, right? 16,000. People are not thrilled. It's not impressive. It's sort of like peaked in October 1st. Maybe that's when the DLC first came out. I don't know. But it hasn't been doing that great. So Starfield, meh. And just for fun, Concord at 0. Because it's gone. But I also want to look at the game that people have been asking me to talk about. And I've been... what is it called? Homeworld? Homeworld 3? Just out of curiosity. Homeworld 3. How are we looking? So... Homeworld 3, 58. Ouch. That's not good. Isn't Homeworld 3, is that also a single player game? The Homeworld series?
I couldn't say, to my knowledge, I believe it is, but I could be wrong on that. Let's see if we can glean anything from these tactical, beautiful, wholly unique, game of the year.
Yeah, right. Of course, game of the year. Of course,
RTS. It's an RTS game, so it's probably either single player RTS or there might be some online aspect of player versus player.
All right, well, there you go. I wonder. Let's look at some of the games that I've been into. So, what about Hashtag Blood? Is anybody playing that? Let's see.
I love Hashtag Blood.
Yeah, I think Hashtag Blood is pretty great. So, Hashtag Blood is 1 in game. Oh, that's sad. There should be more people playing this. I think it's great. It looked like it peaked at about 12 players. This is a very small game. Unfortunately, I think it's a really good game, but I think that a lot of people just didn't pick it up. So, but yeah, Hashtag Blood not doing so
Flies
good.
under the radar.
Yeah, and then we have the Great Rebellion. Let's look at that one. The Great Rebellion. That's another one that's pretty good. Also, only one person playing, so not great.
But look at the rating on it though.
Oh yeah, 91%. Yeah, Blood got a good rating too. Just that. I don't know.
And that's the thing. It's like these good games are being suppressed, but that's part of the reason why, you know, on the Discord server that I run, you know, it's all about. We have the section in there about support non-woke indie games. You know, like. Because that's what we need to do. This has to be a grassroots kind of effort because all this top-down stuff is just going to try to flood and drown out anything that's actually, you know, below it in terms of prominence and marketing and things like that. So we have to take it upon ourselves to actually do the good work and do word of mouth campaigns, you know?
Yep. Well, that's it for us for now. I think I got everything. So, thanks guys for coming on the show. It's been a little while. I'm a little rusty, but now we'll be back on our regular schedule. Yeah. But now we'll be back on our regular schedule. So, go ahead.
Right. I'm gonna have to come up with some kind of grift or a funding model to get myself like capable hardware, because this is, you know, evidently running a server on a laptop is not the best idea.
No? Yeah, I guess not.
Yeah, surprising like that.
No, yeah, it's surprising. No. Well, anyway, thanks guys for coming on the show today. I was just gonna check and see. So Warhammer Space Marine, the original one, Anniversary Edition, still 664 players. It's not bad. That's not bad, actually. It's still being played.
And also still a good rating.
Yeah, and still a good rating. I've been playing it. I've been streaming it a little bit, so I'm gonna go back to streaming it. I have a couple things going on. It is Orktober, so we're going to be doing some Space Marine 1, but also I'm going to be trying to play some spooky games, so you know, look forward to that. That's why I'm going to finish playing #Blood, because it does involve vampires. So but anyway, thanks guys for coming on the stream. If you like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you guys for smashing like.
I do have one little point. If you tonight, I believe let's see, it's going to be 8. Let's see, yeah. It'll be, let's see, it's 9, 8, 7. So at Eastern time, it will be 8 p.m. Eastern. Or let's see, actually, I get my time.
Just give me your time. Just give me your time. I can figure it out.
Yeah. All right. So like it's 7 p.m. Central tonight. I will be on Moxie Games channel doing Moxie's Misfits on its maiden voyage. So if anybody wants to catch me later on today when I'm actually human and have a system that's a little bit more stable, I will be doing that tonight.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. Well, yeah, check out the Discord. Links are in the description to both of the Discords. I hope we'll see you all in our Discord server. There should be a permanent link for both of us. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And yeah, have a good rest of your weekend, guys. Stay safe out there.
Be awesome as always. Safe travels. And we'll see you next time.
All right.
With the glass ceiling broken, all the oppressed groups shall prosper, especially the most oppressed group of all, gamers.
I want people in the industry to be a little bit louder about people being mean to other people, and maybe say it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Maybe say we don't want you around if you're going to be a cunt.
Yeah.
And hateful. And that the games industry is diverse naturally. Not because anyone's making them be diverse. Because the world is diverse, you stupid motherfucker. And if you have a problem with that, come fight me. Physically. Bitch.
Has anyone taken you up on that yet?
No, because they're all pussies.
Yep.
Down here, salt is a way of life.
Obviously, the environment down here is all salt. The ceiling's salt, the floor is salt, the walls are salt, and to an extent, the air is salt. And you breathe that in, and you can constantly taste the salt.